So welcome everybody. It's great to see everybody joining this information session for the Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize. We're in meeting format, so that means that we can see each other and you can ask questions on screen or in the chat as we go. We're just going to wait a moment while everybody joins. We're expecting just a handful more to this particular session, but what would be really great is if you tell us where you're joining from in the chat. That would be really nice to hear. So I know there are some familiar faces, and I know that we've got some people who've been in the exhibition and people that have not been in it or entered into the process before. So it's great to see you. And it's really great to see where you're joining from. So welcome everybody. Please just let us know. I can't see the chat at this moment, so let me try and do that before we start talking. Great to see people from London, Northumberland, deepest Wiltshire. I'm in Dundee, King's Cross in London, South East London, Bristol. So that's good. So we've got a nice gathering. So we've got a good gathering from London, Shepherd's Bush. And just great to know where everybody's joining from, just so that we can also understand where some of the questions are coming from, but great to see you. Great to see you joining from Blandford, Richard. Great to see everybody gathering at all, so that's great. There are just one or two more people arriving. Hello, Anna from Norfolk, I think. We've got Deborah joining just now. And we'll just give it a moment. Settle in. Hi, Ben, great to see you. So it's good to see everybody. And let's just gather, settle in, get pens and papers, anything that you need to take notes. And I know that I've had a couple of questions in advance, which are on my other computer, so it will take me a moment to get to them. But the format is intended that we can ask questions fairly straightforwardly. And I think Fiona will tell me if it's time to go. So we've got Fiona Cassidy with us this evening, co-piloting until about 7:15. So, and we won't be more than an hour, but I will take questions until 7. So great to see you, Francis from Pendle. Great to see Mark from Bath, Emma from London. All great. And great to see Celia. That's great to see you too. So, shall I start, Fiona? Can't see you anymore.
Yes, go for it.
Perfect. So really great to have everybody joining us. I'm Anita Taylor, even though it doesn't say that on my screen. I'm the Dean of Duncan of Jordanstone College of Art and Design, and I'm the founding director of both the Drawing Prize and Drawing Projects UK. And the aim of the information session is to enable you to understand more about the exhibition and why it happens, to understand what the process is this year, because post-COVID we've made some adjustments, and also to enable you to find out more about the opportunities afforded by it. So it's always lovely to welcome people, always welcome to ask questions and to find out. You're also able to ask via email and the contact details on the site, Parker Harris, but let's start here and go from where we are. This first image is, for those of you who've not seen the exhibition before, is the Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize, installed actually in the chain store at Trinity Buoy Wharf in London. And we are supported by the Trinity Buoy Wharf Trust, and that's why we're called the Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize. But we also show the exhibition in London at Trinity Buoy Wharf. We also select the exhibition in London at Trinity Buoy Wharf, and we run a programme there. So we work with them quite closely because they're very passionate supporters of drawing. So the exhibition has been led by me since 1994. And it was founded when I was head of painting at the University of what's now the University of Gloucestershire. And I founded it with a colleague who was teaching and painting at the same time. And it was founded as the Wrexham Derwent Open Drawing Exhibition. It came as a partly established project, something set up by the Malvern Drawing Associates, but we took it in as a project and reframed it to think about what drawing was today, to think about who was drawing, what were they drawing, and how were they drawing. And that was done in the context of an art school, and done in the context of an art school because actually in the early 1990s, some of you will remember and some of you won't, drawing was actually quite hard to see, or contemporary drawing was quite hard to see very easily. And we had a huge commitment to teaching drawing within our programme at Cheltenham. I am a drawer, my colleague is a drawer, everybody drew, and we actually found that we needed a way practically also to find out who was drawing and what they were drawing, how they were drawing, but also to give examples to students. And it also provided professional practice in that very first phases for students, and students still do get paid internship work on the exhibition project, and they're trained by a senior team. The image gives you the chain store at Trinity Buoy Wharf, which is the last lighthouse in London, which explains our logo. It's on the side of the Thames and it's opposite the O2 or the Millennium Dome, depending on how you know London. And you can see somebody about to film the show, and you can see the publication that we have. And we produce each year a fully illustrated publication. I'm just trying to lose the images so that I can see the slides. We were known, so we've been running for 30 years this year. From 1994, it became an annual in 1996 and was known as the Cheltenham Open Drawing Exhibition, where it had multiple funders from a private benefactor who was a collector of British drawing, a company called Weston's Nurseries, the Summerfield Trust, the CHK Charities and Ruth Dean Hopkins Foundation. And we knew that we needed to build towards more significant funding, and we were very fortunate to be taken on by what was then the German Charitable Foundation with a year's pilot to run an open drawing exhibition, because they were very committed to the idea of having an open drawing. At the time, they ran Jerwood painting, Jerwood sculpture was shortly afterwards, and a whole range of open opportunities for artists that enabled them to get their work seen by experts, rewarded for excellence and profiled, would be one way of saying it. And we were very fortunate to stay with the Jerwood Charitable Foundation, or Jerwood Arts as it now is, for 17 years. They were very committed to this as a wonderful open exhibition. But by 2017, we'd had quite a large amount of wonderful funding from them. And we were no longer really an emerging field. So it was time to find a new supporter, and we were really fortunate to meet the connector for Trinity Buoy Wharf Trust, just as they were looking for a project to celebrate 20 years on the site at Trinity Buoy Wharf. So we went in as an anniversary project, and we've been funded by them for the last 6 years. Trinity Buoy Wharf Trust is made from the funds come from income generated from the site, which is a historic heritage area in London with studios, other arts organisations like the ENO workshops, the Royal did have the Royal Drawing School, it's now the Prince's Foundation, and a range of individual artists and makers studios. So it's a creative quarter, there's also a school there, and other aspects in an area of London that, since we've been funded by them, has become significantly built around by the owners of the next site. But it's a protected area on a long lease in order to preserve the heritage, enable a cultural quarter in that part of London, and support creative practice. They also have Jem Finers, long player in the Lighthouse. These are just shots of the exhibition. So you can see these heritage stores, the chain store, and this one, but the boys' store. And we set the project up to promote talent and excellence in contemporary drawing through the annual exhibition, which meant that through an open call, we could promote the discipline of drawing, present an exhibition of current drawing practice, and also associated exhibitions and programs. So we sometimes do other exhibitions out of the open submission and people that we've worked with through, or drawings that we've worked with through the show, and that we use it in order to provide a forum to gain knowledge and understanding about drawing and practitioners working within the discipline. That's always, for me as a long-term educator, being situated within a discourse of how drawing is defined and used, both within the educational context of art and design higher education, but much more broadly within communities. The way that it works is that it's an open exhibition, it's a genuinely open call, and the selectors are looking at drawings and choosing drawings. And we have an annually appointed panel of experts who choose those drawings for the exhibitions based on the work that's submitted alone. So what we're doing is inviting people to submit drawings that they think are, or works that they think are drawings and that they think are good drawings and that represent them and their work. And the panel are charged with considering each piece of work as to whether it's a drawing, whether it's a good drawing, whether it's a drawing they want to keep in the exhibition that they can collectively agree on, and then they'll also then further collectively agree on the awards. The exhibition, so the panels that you can see there are Charlotte Mullins, gosh, I'm going to have a terrible blank, Kate, who was at Arnolfini, who's now, I'm going to forget, so it's fine, I'll come back to that in a moment, Michael Craig Martin, David DeBosa on the bottom image with Michael Simpson and Helen Legg. So you can see a balance. There's usually an artist on the panel. There has been a year where we didn't have an artist, but our aim as an artist-led open exhibition was that it would always have a maker of drawings on the panel, and people within the art world, whether curators, museum directors, collectors, or writers about drawing alongside them, so that that dialogue could take place between the three in response to the work submitted. The exhibition, the open call is now, and we'll come to the dates and the process in a moment, but the work comes in over the summer months. We make a publication, we organise the exhibition and plan for that and the education programme based on the drawings in the show. And it will be launched, it will be presented at Trinity Buoy Wharf in London, actually from the 28th of September to the 15th of October 2023, but we may delay our opening from what we usually do on the Wednesday to the Thursday, and I'll talk about the reason for that in a later slide. And we will be running 2 days of the programme on the 28th, 7th and 28th. I think I might have the dates wrong there. That will be there around schools, education, around collecting, around what the prize and the exhibition is and the findings from that, with a whole range of experts alongside it. The awards will be announced on the 28th rather than the 27th, we just agreed. And there will be the fully illustrated publication. There's an education pack that Drawing is Free will devise as Drawing is Free, or also known as Chloe Briggs has done since we went into lockdown, when we had some Arts Council funding to generate engagement that couldn't take place within the exhibition, but the education pack is very successful and it draws on works in the show. And there'll be a public engagement programme starting with the 2 days of Drawing Festival on the Wednesday and Thursday in that week, but also alongside the exhibition while it's on show in London, and then obviously as it goes off on tour. So the call for entries this year has two processes and 2 different stages in one. So the reason partly to do the information session is to be clear about the reasons for that and what that means. We have the image on the right is the open call featuring a beautiful Ben Jonson drawing, which is in the exhibition for the Working Drawing Award. And our new sponsors or organisers, Trinity Buoy Wharf Trust and Urban Space Management that operate Trinity Buoy Wharf, have an incredible passion for drawing, but also an incredible passion for what working drawing might be and how do we find out more, share information, promote and encourage people to think about drawing as a process of ideation, of design, communication, drawing that's a preparation for something to be made from it that might be given as an instruction to others, or it might be about notation for the maker themselves in order to do the workings out. Tanya Kovacs, who was a selector last year, called them working it out drawings, which I thought was a very nice way of thinking through, was it a working drawing as whether it was working something out. And Ben's drawing here clearly is working out through this fantastic drawing how this is going to be transcribed into a painting in this instance. We've said the call for entry is open for drawings by architects, designers and makers, and we do interpret makers broadly, but we're very conscious of thinking about how drawings develop ideas and translate into other things. And it's a category that we think is actually really special. It's a show within a show. At the moment, it's touring on its own independently of the main exhibition, and it has its own selection panel. And our panel this year is Ben Heath, who's the principal at Grimshaw Architects, where he's actually in charge of the digital area, but is a great passionate. He's attended the drawing show ever since it's been in Trinity Buoy Wharf, so knows what the exhibition is about and is very passionate about it. Debbie Hilliard, who's the Director of Learning, Senior Director of Learning for Hauser and Wirth, the whole Hauser and Wirth scope of galleries across the world. So Debbie has a very particular remit, and that does include working with the Architectural Summer School that takes place at Hauser and Wirth in Somerset in the summer each year in association with Drawing Matter and some of the universities. So a great knowledge there, and she comes from a theory history base, working in art school, so has a very good understanding. And Michael Pavelka, who is a designer for set, stage and costume, who is an independent freelance theatre designer. He has been a very senior and very well respected academic, including running the MA drawing programme at Wimbledon for a period at Wimbledon School of Art in London. And Michael no longer does that. He's working with major companies, both designing all elements of live performance. So that's the Working Drawing Award. There is a 2,000 award for that, and that has a separate submission process, a separate category, a separate entry fee, because we think it's a different thing. And you can put in 3 drawings for the 1 fee for this, because we think working drawings quite often need their own company, but they also, it means that we are thinking about how they operate in a working process. They're not necessarily to be presented with collars and cuffs or frames, but they might be. So it's thinking about how drawing operates in that space. The main exhibition, because I can't find any other better way of describing it, the main project that's been running since 1994 is the open call for drawings by anyone who makes drawings from anywhere in the world. And that open call is a genuine open call. And the USP for this show has always been that we select from drawings in the real, because they're actually very hard, quite frequently, to photograph, to document, and things around scale, size, touch, surface, all sorts of things come into operation as we're looking at that. So it's the open call. I'll come to why there are 2 stages, but it's the wide open call for everyone to submit their work or drawings. And the selection panel is Laura Hoptman, who's the Executive Director of the Drawing Centre in New York, a very esteemed curator of drawing. She was at MoMA before that, and wrote the very wonderful book, 8 Propositions. We have Dennis Scholl, who is a collector and an arts patron based in Miami. He also is, there's a typo on the poster is what I realise on the honours, so I'll sort those out. Might be the earlier version. But he's also the president and CEO of Oolite Arts in Miami, which he's standing down from at the end of the year. And as president, he oversees a wonderful set of residency studios and opportunities for artists. He also has a practice. He is an Emmy Award-winning filmmaker, and he also has a creative practice. So he's quite a Renaissance man, but he has their collection of Aboriginal, Australian Indigenous works is going into the Met and to 2 other museums in New York. And currently his focus is on collecting drawings. It's a beautiful collection. And he's just visually curious and excited to be on the panel. Barbara Walker, who has an MBE, has just been made a Royal Academician and is a nominee for the Turner Prize this year, which happened after the process of appointing the panel, is a former exhibitor. She's a former Evelyn Williams Award winner, and she's a wonderful British artist based in Birmingham, and the Turner nomination is for her work for the recent Biennale that she participated in. So she's a fabulous artist. She's our maker. She's passionate about drawing. She's passionate about the opportunities that this exhibition also provides. And the special thing this year is that the awards include the first prize of 8,000, the second prize of 5,000, the student award of 2,000. It's important to encourage student submissions, and the Evelyn Williams Drawing Award again. So it's the fourth offer of the biennial Evelyn Williams Award. I'll talk about that again in a moment. But as a former award winner of the first winner of the Evelyn Williams Drawing Award, it's very special to have Barbara on the selection panel. We have 2 dates for submission, and we call it non-UK and UK entries. And the reason for that is simply about the practicalities of getting work from non-UK countries, areas into the UK. So it's not about your nationality. It's also if you're someone who is traveling to the UK with a drawing and you can do that, you can put in through the other process. But we're doing a 2-stage process so that we can so the deadline on the 5th of June is for the registration for non-UK entries, and that requires images of the work to come in so that the selection panel can collect together online and make decisions collectively, seeing every work that's submitted into that non-UK category to choose what should come forward to come to London. And the reason to do that, or to the UK, it can come into a different collection centre. The reason to do that is to help minimise the complexity for bringing anything through the borders, across borders, particularly into the UK. We opened back up to international submissions just after Brexit. And for us, how we manage that, this is about trying to make it easier, and it means that we can give one-on-one advice to the people who are coming through from non-UK places through that part of the submission. We're going back to the world that we used to have in for the rest of the work, because having spoken to several of the selectors in the last couple of years, thought about how long we've been asking our very distinguished panel to spend online looking at everything and then looking at it again in London. We want to see what's in the real, and that's been the feedback from everybody involved over the past period, and it's definitely the thing we believe in. So the deadline for registration of entries coming from the UK, and that means works made in the UK or works that can be delivered to the UK at that point, is you need to register online so we know what's coming and where it's coming to. But we're expecting to receive the works in the real without any digital documentation. So I'm probably talking overly on the slide. So this gives you an idea of the selection process. We gather things together. On the left, that's what it used to look like in the Wimbledon studios when we did it there. I've moved around in higher education. And that's what it looks like on the right, with Simon Groom from the National Galleries in Scotland, Zoe Whitley from Chisenhale, and actually you can't see Sheila, but you can see Penny Harris from Parker Harris coming into the space. This was in our kind of semi-COVID selection. And you can see that work comes in all shapes and sizes, it comes in frames and it comes in different ways. But that process of people seeing the work and being able to intersect it, both first individually and then together, so they make decisions collectively all the way through about what they want to keep, and we keep whittling down from there. This is putting faces and names together for you. I've already talked through who they are. So we're thrilled to have Laura Hoptman from the Drawing Centre New York as a panellist, who's very distinguished. Dennis Scholl, who's the collective philanthropist and president and CEO of Oolite Arts in Miami, as I've said, who's a filmmaker and an artist. And Barbara Walker, who's a British artist. And you can see Barbara here with one of her signature large-scale wall drawings behind her. I've already slightly talked you through the process. I'm getting ahead of myself on the slides. So, but the UK entry process, so somebody in the UK wanting to submit 3 drawings, you would register through the online entry portal by the 30th of June. I have got the wrong date on here, I thought I captured it. 2023. So drawings registered by the 30th of June, that's the correct date. And then all drawings entered are delivered to a collection centre located across the UK, including the Trinity Buoy Wharf in London. On the entry portal, and Fiona will drop links in as we go, there is a collection centre PDF. They're not quite in alpha order because some of them changed after they'd set the site up. But what we've done is follow the process of bulk collection, which is the sustainable method that the art world is using. And we have a spine of collection centres that run through the UK. If anybody's really worried about where there isn't one, we're happy to look at that if we can get someone to play with us. And then we'll gather all the work to come into London, and then we have it all together to work through with a fantastic team of technicians, very experienced, who come especially to do this. And the chief technician's worked on this for many years. And then we bring all the work in from across the UK, from the collection centre to Trinity Buoy Wharf. All of the works are viewed anonymously in the reel, and they're selected solely on their value of the drawings alone. So we don't provide the other information. We have that, we need that information for us in the back of house, but not before. And then everyone will be notified by the 20th of July of the outcome of the entry. So that's the standard process that we used to have for all works. Excuse me. If you're submitting work from outside the UK, we've got this two-stage process, so the dates are okay, to submit 3 drawings, exactly the same as the other one, but we've made a separate entry portal so that we can keep the uploading of image separate from the ones that don't need to upload an image. And the works need to be registered by the 5th of June at 5 o'clock, and the panel will choose a long list from the online entries for stage 2 of the process. Again, they see them online without information. We take a note of the sizes so that we can give them a good idea, because that's the thing that's most complex about seeing work on screen, is to understand the scale and the way it intercepts. And then we will let everybody know by the 9th of June of the outcome of stage 1, so that we can organise for those long list of drawings to come to a collection centre ready to join the rest of the work for the selection days in London. The Working Drawing Award, as I've already said, is a separate element, and it's a special display with its separate process. And the online entries follow the similar format to the international, as it's uploading digital images to be submitted by the 5th of June, and the working drawing panel will meet and select things online. And that work will be selected and brought to Trinity Buoy Wharf as part of the exhibition. There's Ben Heath, Debbie Hilliard, and Michael Pavalka, so that you know they're real people. And they're very nice and friendly and want to see lots of wonderful drawings. So again, 3 drawings must be registered online. The panel will select the display of working drawings from the online entries. Anonymously, they will choose things on the basis of merit in their view, and we'll let everybody know by the 12th. There isn't a second stage selection for the working drawing. The second stage is about who gets the award. So all of the works come in, they can be delivered to the collection centres along with everything else, and you'll have a different label for them so that we know which drawings they are when they arrive in London. The entry fees, as you can see, we've kept them as close as they've been for the last however many years, but there's a standard entry submission of £25 for 1 work, 2 works 35 and 3 45. But this is just covering the costs of handling and organising the work to come in and it being seen. So the student entry is a reduced fee. We think it's important to support students to submit their work, and that's why there's a student award. And the working drawing has a different process and a different valid price to put in. The most important thing is you actually think about which is the most appropriate element to submit your work to. And there's nothing to stop you putting into both the working drawing award and the main drawing prize. You can do that. They're seen by different panels. The UK collection centres go from Aberystwyth in Wales, Bristol in the southwest, Belfast in Northern Ireland, Dundee in Scotland, Leeds. London is Trinity Buoy Wharf over a number of days, and there will be timed slots to deliver to manage the traffic there. Newcastle on Tyne, Norwich, Plymouth, Sheffield, and Wimbledon in South London, which means that you can deliver without coming into the congestion charge. this again just reiterates the value of the awards. It's a beautiful image of everyone arriving for the awards announcement and exhibition launch from the boat, which we put on to bring people from Westminster Pier down the river to Trinity Buoy Wharf. So it's a very lovely way. You can pretend you're in Venice or Rotterdam. There is an awards ceremony. We aim as far as possible to have the selectors join us if they can, and guest speakers, and it is a big occasion. We announce the awards live on the night, and we do encourage everyone to come, and just to share that it is a real achievement to be in the exhibition, and what we're doing is putting together really interesting drawings in view and eyes of that selection panel, and our job is to make sense of that as an exhibition and a programme. The selectors choose the award winners. It's the Working Drawing Award panel on the right, and it's me announcing on the left. This is what the first thing we could do during the lockdown, with one of the Working Drawing Award selectors there. The Evelyn Williams Award is a special award funded by the Evelyn Williams Trust, and it's a biannual award of £10,000 to support the development of a project or an exhibition to be shown in a gallery in the UK. We have worked as Durward Drawing Prize with Durward Gallery in 2017, and as Trinity Buoy Wharf Trust with Hastings Contemporary, as Durward Gallery became after that. So 2017, Barbara Walker was the award winner. Penny McCarthy was awarded it in 2019, and her show concluded in Hastings earlier in the year because it was delayed by COVID. Roland Hicks was awarded the Evelyn Williams Award in 2021, and his exhibition at Hastings Contemporary will open 1 or 2 weeks after the drawing prize itself. So they will run concurrently. And so the idea is that someone is given the award. So we write to everybody once you're selected who meets the criteria of somebody with a track record of exhibitions, to write a proposal as to how you might use £10,000 to develop an exhibition for Hastings Contemporary. And this award is selected from work already selected by the distinguished panel, but the award itself is selected by an Evelyn Williams Trust trustee, by the director of the gallery, and by myself. So that's has a different process within it. It's very developmental, and we work with the artists over the period of 18 months to 2 years to develop their exhibition. It's a great opportunity. Then there's the education pack with Drawing is Free, which is downloadable and free so that anyone can join in and be encouraged to draw across the world. We run public engagement sessions, some of which are online, because actually that reaches a number of people, but we will be doing sessions at Trinity Buoy Wharf, and we will be holding this day and a half of drawing festival as the exhibition opens with programmes alongside it. We've also made films of Gary Lawrence, who's one of the first prize winners. So we have the links are here, which I know that Fiona will be dropping into the chat. So there's an entry portal, which is on ArtOps, which has its own Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize. You can go to any one of them and be redirected to the other two. And I know that we feel that might be confusing, but actually it's clear once you get to it. There's a website for the Drawing Prize itself, which is the Drawing Projects UK microsite, which gives you a broad history. It doesn't illustrate everything that's ever been in the show. And we will be getting to the point of developing an archive that includes the fully illustrated catalogues that we produce every year. But you can follow us on Instagram and on Twitter itself, and also the main exhibitions. So I'm going to say it's time to take questions, and I'm obviously looking very hot. I belted back to the office to do the talk this afternoon. But can I welcome you all? I don't know whether I've given you a good overview or whether you have lots of questions. I know I've got one question that came in, and hopefully you've been dropping some questions into the chat, but I don't see any there. Fiona's given you the main entry portal, and I'm sure that you will have questions. So shall I take the screen down? Then I can see you all, which might make it easier. But what I did want to say is the whole premise of this is we don't tell you what a drawing is, and hopefully you've seen from the various images, it might be sound, it might be made on a piece of fungus, it might be made absolutely conventionally on a piece of paper, it might be made with biro, it might be made with a linear paint mark. The proposition is that you define as whether you believe you're submitting a drawing and the panel having that dialogue with the drawings that are submitted. And then we're trying to work through what represents a good drawing, a drawing that meets their criteria for drawing. And then we build around that the exhibition, the programme, the material that forms the public engagement, and the support that we provide for artists. So we do encourage a community around this, and there we'll go. So I'll come to the questions. I'm going to stop sharing so that we can see each other, because it's easier for me to see the questions. I know that Fiona's got to go in about 5 minutes, if not before. So the very first question that we've got is how many entries versus how many accepted. It varies from year to year. Sometimes the submission can be up to 3,500. Largely it's 1,800 to 2,500 drawings. We've had exhibitions that range from 60 drawings. In the last 2 years, the exhibitions have been quite large. So 110, 120 drawings in the main exhibition, plus the Working Drawing Award. The space at Trinity Buoy Wharf is fairly flexible because we build all the screens, and we build very tall screens so that we can accommodate that. We also have things on video that may take a different space. The thing that we're not very good able to do is build a big installation, and the reason for that is it's a touring show, and actually how do we do that? But there are some things that can be installed, and we do if the panel want it, we will make it work. But the exhibition will then go on tour from London. It's coming up to Dundee at the moment, coming into the new Drawing Project UK space, and then it's going to back down to the southwest to Bournemouth and another venue in the southwest that I'm going to forget, and then it's going to go back up to Wigan. So it's got quite a long tour this year, because people build, and we build programs around it for everyone. Digital drawing is acceptable. What we're looking for is a drawing that is the means of making the drawing are appropriate to its subject, content, and form. So there are often digital drawings. There quite often might be a conversation about whether things are unique. That depends on the panel. And certainly in the Working Drawing Award, I think we expect that we will see more digital drawing in there. But we expect people to be using a panoply of materials and forms and media available to them. So you may be very purist and use pen and ink or pencil, and you may be using a whole range of media, and you may be using completely digital. We had a student award winner in lockdown that was made from a Strava app. So it was the digital mapping of a walk that was taken every day. So really what we're looking at is what talks to drawing both today and the experiences of the maker, and how that relates to others, if that makes sense. So everything is equally valued. Things that have won the awards, although that's not the main entirely thing, have been sound. Last year's was a video. 3 years ago was a performance. In between, it's been all sorts of very conventional things, which are absolutely loved and applauded in exactly the same way. So will we make the recording available? I'm hoping this one's a better recording than the last two I did, but we will make it available to everybody at this point. And the reason to give the talk at this point is for people unsure about or making a decision about working drawing, or if they're submitting from outside the UK for the 5th of June. I will run one more session afterwards for UK so that we make sure that we're scooping up everybody. So we will make it available. I know not everybody's been able to make them. We've got people in Australia and they haven't been able to make any of the 6 o'clocks. But we do expect to see work coming in from all over the world. And in the last 2 years, it's come in from 46 different countries. The bulk of the submission is from the UK, but we're getting work from 46 to 47 countries coming in for the exhibition, for the selection process. Should the drawings be packed to a high standard for drop-off centres? The drawings need to be packed appropriately for travel. For the collection centres, they're largely going into an art handler's van. But what you do need to do is protect any delicate frames. You definitely don't want to have any fixings on the back because they damage both your own work and others, and actually the handler's hands. So no fixings on the back. Whatever your framer puts on, ask them not to put it on. And sometimes if it's a perspex frame, it needs a crate because those edges are not protected in any other way. So take advice from whoever's framing your work, take advice from anyone else. There are frequently asked questions on the entry portal that talk about framing. It also tells you if there's an aesthetic reason not to frame, how to present the work. But what we want is not to be fighting reels of sellotape and sticky tape to get to the work, but we do want it to be protected well enough to travel. And we suggest and recommend things are framed because that's actually what framing is for, is to protect drawings. But we also recognise that some things won't come in framed, and that particularly I think for overseas, sometimes the panel will accept them like that and say that they need to be framed for the show, but we would negotiate. For those of you who've been in the show before, you'll be familiar that once we're to the work that's selected, we're able to work with people to say, actually, this needs a different way of being presented for the show. And if you send something that's got no way of being presented, we will be having a conversation about how you actually think it's going to be stuck to the wall or stand in space. So if there's anything that isn't a conventional frame, you probably need, if it's coming in, to have some hanging instructions somewhere in your packing, just so that we're all clear about how you want it to be handled. So drawings should be packed to a high standard as appropriate for an open exhibition to protect the work, to protect everyone else's work. It can come in without any wrapping if it's framed, and you're not too worried about the frame. What I would say is your frames need to be durable for handling, because all open exhibitions, the work is handled more than once. It's not like it's going to a solo show and it's just come from the framers and it goes on the wall. We're very good at handling the work. There's rarely any damage, but there is a kind of, it is being handled more than once, and it's being handled several times to get through the process and then on from there. The short film, you feel it's a working drawing and drawing. I'm going to get to that question. As it is digital, can you enter it for both the drawing prize and the working drawing? They're going to be seen by different people. So the working drawing, I would encourage everyone to see. It's like a different exhibition. And you can do that. It's whether you want to do that. So that all of those things are your choices. But working drawing, we've toyed with whether we should just separate the timing out completely. And that's partly where we are at the moment about saying it comes in earlier. Just so that we're clear that that work that comes into that gets seen by that panel in that process, and there's nothing to stop you putting into the other one. There's nothing technically to stop you putting in the same work, but if it got into the working drawing, we'd have to make a decision about whether the other panel saw it. So I guess that's the question, and we can communicate on that. Do entries need to be ready to hang? They need to be hangable. But as I've said, no fixings, no mirror plates, no screw eyes, no hangers on the back. The drawing behind me on the back's got those lovely stainless steel ones that stick out that you hook on. They're a nightmare in an open exhibition because we're handling so much work, and you've got handlers handling work steadily and carefully, but they're handling every work and they're moving things around. So if it's perspex frame, you'll need it in a small crate so that we can lift it and see it in the frame, and we'll take it out once we get to exhibition making and photography. We also re-photograph all of the work after it's selected. So we need to know how we're going to hang it, as I would say the answer to the, does it need to be ready to hang? Yes, it does, but please don't bother with the fixings. We need to be able to put those on. That's great. So somebody's going to put into both categories. That's perfect. That's absolutely fine. You get your work in front of two different fabulous panels with different priorities about what they're looking for. I'm great that someone's going, and I'm going to find Ben's question if he doesn't want to come on and answer it, because it's on my other computer. Let me find it. But you're all welcome to come off camera and ask. It's very straightforward.
Anita, I think you have answered my question,
Oh, okay, good.
but thank
I'm
you.
just double checking. That's brilliant, Ben. And
You
thanks
check.
for having you. I'm just checking. I think we have. So computers is an integral part of practice. Absolutely. And is a print acceptable? It really is the panel. And prints are often unique. Sometimes we've occasionally had panelists who've said, I don't want something that's in an edition. But it's entirely up to them, and I can't predict what they are actually going to say. And I would also say that what you know, if you've got an amazing panel looking at the work, they will make their own decisions. And they're going to be an interesting panel making those decisions, I think, this year. They're all absolutely passionate about drawing. But they're also very aware that drawings are made in all sorts of idioms and different media and different language. So what I would say is that I can't predict, and actually you can never quite predict what they're going to choose. That's the joy. It is genuinely a dialogue about what they see, and that's why seeing it in the real, there's nothing quite like it. So because it is about how you intercept a drawing, its scale, its space, and you've seen the tables set out with, they're literally seeing everything set out. It doesn't walk by them like it does at the Academy or Royal West of England or all of those places where it moves by you and discerning eye. This is actually set out so that they can apprehend the work quietly, and then they come together to make those decisions about what they're about. There's a small army of wonderful technicians, experienced ones, and people that we're training through and giving opportunities to. And there's one more question. Do we need to supply the Hingling mechanism if submitted unframed? Ideally is the answer to that one. If not, with the challenge, we get a lot of work on large rolls of paper. So we quite frequently end up using clips with inserts to protect the paper to do that. And that's absolutely fine. But ideally, if you do know how you want it to be fixed, if you're submitting it unframed, it's great to have it come with it, because then you get what you wanted, not the compromise of what we can make a decision about in the background. But if it gets through to the exhibition, we will. Those are things that the reason it comes in July and is selected then is we photograph everything that's selected again, so that it's got a quality of photographing for the publication. Everything is included that's in the show in the publication. And we write to you for a brief biography. And we'll also ask you for a statement about the drawing, not about wider things, but about the drawing that's selected. I'm going to say thank you to Fiona, because I know she's shooting off, which is great. Great to have her here helping. So bye, Fiona. Thank you. So Fiona assists Drawing Projects UK and lots of things, and is integral to lots of our events online, as well as
Thanks,
practical
everyone.
things.
Sorry to miss the
thank
last
you.
10 minutes.
Okay, it's all good. It's all
Bye.
good. So in terms of, I forgot what we were saying actually. We don't take the work out of frames to photograph it. We have an extremely good photographer with lighting. That means that we don't need to do that. And so we're not unhandling the framing. The framing is integral. Some things will be being reframed. But what we're trying to do is represent the work as a drawing, represent you as the maker of the drawing, and represent what the intention is of that drawing itself. So the exhibition is very much about choosing drawings, and that's why we don't present them with anything else. We have that information. So if it's necessary for us to check something for them because they've got a question, we will do that. But largely, we're asking people to trust their own visual, every aspect of seeing drawing judgments, and to work together to do that. So they're meeting your drawing on the terms that you make it and the terms on which you submit it. Our job is to enable them to see absolutely every drawing that's submitted. And that's both none. And they will all, and we know that not everything gets in. But what I would say is that some of these people, sometimes you might get into another project that they're working on. Sometimes they might choose work for other things. Occasionally other things happen. Getting your work seen by a super distinguished panel is one of the biggest opportunities. And I think someone like Trisha Gilman, who's been in the show several times, will say it's also a way of testing whether what I've made is doing what I want it to do in the world. And that's as much for you as it is for anyone else. Does the artist get a digital file of the professional photograph? We haven't done that, but I don't think there's anything that would stop us doing that. That's a benefit to artists. That we can do. It might not arrive before the exhibition is published and the exhibition is out there, but there's no reason for that. And we have said that we'll put this very raw recording up online so that you can go back over everything. What I would say is the overall exhibition website has overarching information that you'll see about the call for entries. All of the links are embedded in there, but if you go to the Art Ops portal, you'll find there's a lot more information. Some of it's a bit unwieldy because we've built FAQs from over, well, for at least for the last 25 years. Some of those FAQs have not changed, and some have changed and been updated. But if there's something we're asking you for, there is a size limit. That size limit, again, if the panel feels strongly that something larger than that size limit can be in the show, that's fine. Our size limit is there in order to say we can guarantee we can get it through the door in every gallery it's going to. We can guarantee we can get it onto transport of everywhere it's going. But sometimes roll drawings are bigger. But we do need to be able to know that we've got the height or width to show them. So, but there is a strongly recommended size limit. There's a strong recommendation to think about how you protect your drawing coming into an open process. And I would say it's a huge privilege for me. I see everything. I've only had 1 year in that 30 years where I haven't seen every drawing. And lots of other things happen. So we work with artists who are in the show, or people with drawings in the show. You don't have to be an artist. You don't have to have a degree. You might be highly trained and might be well advanced in your career, or you might be just starting out. And the joy of drawing is that it makes its own space and makes its own communication through this process. Does anyone have any other questions before I start rambling?
Hi, Anita. It was just quickly, I've just written up, actually, sorry, I was really late. I was late.
That's okay.
I know you're recording this. Is there any chance I can have a look at that recording to see the beginning bit that I missed, or am I just?
Yes. What we will do is we'll upload it onto Drawing Projects UK has a YouTube site.
Oh, fantastic.
The link to the film that we put in this Eventbrite ticket is on there. And you can see on there a whole range of drawing discussions between artists with work in the show. You can see we didn't have a film of last year's exhibition, but we do have 2 films of the years before, so you can get a good sense of a walk around an exhibition. This year's had a technical hitch, so we're just working out how we're going to. We will make it, but it's not going to be. The show is concluded. But you can also usually. Quite frequently, you can get hold of a publication in libraries, art school libraries or main libraries. You can get them from Parker House or from actually Dundee. So they are available to get a sense. The size limit is really recommended. I shouldn't be saying it's not, but we do. You will all have seen things in the show if you've seen it that are slightly out of those regulations. Sometimes the panel say it's out of the regulations. I'm not going to look at it. So you run that risk if you don't do something within it. But what I would say is that if it's a couple of centimetres out, no one's going to be measuring it before it gets through that process. But we do sometimes, and we've had a couple of times had people submit drawings that are 4 or 5 metres, and you've also got to think about this is a show that is intentionally going to have at least 70 drawings in it. And how that comes together. So it is, your drawing would have to be pretty extraordinary, and sometimes they are, often they are, to take that space. So I think it's just thinking realistically about, you know, but we want to see amazing drawings and we want to see what everybody is making. And what speaks to a panel. It's what speaks to them and what they see as a drawing. We do start them out by asking them what they think a drawing, what they're looking for. And that is a negotiated thing. That discussion changes as they work through. They work very intensively together over a full 2 days plus in the last part, and they'll be working together on that stage 1 for the international. So they'll have a sense of each other before they get to the space in London. Anything else? I mean, we're hoping that people are happy that we've gone back to seeing things in the real. We know that there are different logistical problems about both processes, but we know from the feedback that we've always chosen the exhibition itself from things in the real. Even through lockdown, we managed a 2-stage process for that. So going back to seeing everything, your work gets seen in a completely different way. So that's why we're doing it. And because we have the collection centres, we feel that, you know, and the work goes back to the collection centres. So if it's not selected, it's all coming back to your collection centre that you've chosen, and that just happens within the process. And then the exhibition goes out on tour, and likewise, I'll sort out some bits on those who've been in the show before. Is there anything else you want to know? Is everyone daunted or happy or excited or found it okay? I mean, there's a whole community around the submitting the work. You meet people throughout the whole process at the collection centres, putting things in. We build that community through the process once work is in the show, but we also put on things that we think everybody will want to come to as free events so that they'll be there. And that's the aim of the launch. And the reason I've said that the date is changing slightly for the launch is because they're launching. This has never happened to us in the whole 30 years. This is another big private view on the night we're going to do the launch. And that happens to be the Turner Prize private view. It's not the announcement, we thought that would be fine, but it's the private view, and that actually impacts on the Evelyn Williams Award, which we choose on that afternoon before the launch. So we literally are choosing right at that moment who gets the award, so we have to build that in. But we will be doing an educational preview the night before, and then running these sessions on collecting. So we have a collector from the Powerhouse in Sydney going to speak on the panel. We're hoping we might get Dennis and someone from the British Museum, and then we'll have a history reflection because it is 30 years this year. It's a big year. And an archival display in the chain store alongside the show. It's really lovely to see everybody. It's coming up to 7. I feel I'm not sure I've answered your questions, but really looking forward to seeing all the fantastic drawings that come in. And it's great to see people who've been in the show on the call, and it's great to see people who haven't submitted before, or people who may have submitted and not got in. It really, you'll hear lots of different narratives. If you watch the film, I think it's probably the one that I did share. It's the one that has people talking about what their experience of the show has been. So it has clips from selectors and previous selectors and from people being in the show, and it gives you a sense, hopefully, of what that's like. But the most important thing is to make drawings and submit them. It's a uniquely amazing panel. It's always an amazing panel, but it is a pretty extraordinary panel this year. So we're really looking forward to it. And of course, the additional opportunity for those of you with a track record of a career, the Evelyn Williams Award is very much a special award in this year. And we'll be 30. So, surely I haven't been doing it that long. But there you go. It's really lovely to see everyone. If you do have questions, it will take me, the recording needs trimming. So it does take a little while to download, trim and upload to YouTube, but we'll post on social media if you follow us on social media when it's up. And we will share that, and we'll try and send an email out to you by Eventbrite if we can. Great to see everybody. Hope you're going to be busy drawing. Really looking forward to seeing lots of fantastic drawings as always. And this really is a celebration of drawing, what it does in terms of communication, expression, ideation, preparation, planning, documentation. It's every aspect of drawing. And what we're looking for are, we're looking for gems, but we're also looking to see everything, because there are lots of other things that happen too. And it's a great process. So can I say a huge thank you to everyone. Great to see you all, and look forward to seeing drawings ahead. If you've got any more questions, you can ping them either via drawing projects, but preferably via Parker Harris. They do get busy, so sometimes you might not get the answer quite immediately. But we will keep doing, there's one more information session to go. If you've still got questions, that's with after the working drawing and after anything that's not UK. So we will do one a couple of weeks before the final closing, and look forward to seeing you then. Take care. See you all soon. Bye.